Welcome back, everyone, to another REACHLaw Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something really important if you're exporting chemical products to South Korea.
That's right. We're looking at the Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS, requirements under K-OSHA.
K-OSHA being South Korea's Occupational Safety and Health Act.
Yeah.
We'll dig into recent updates and some key exemptions to give you the essential info you need.
And ensuring you comply with K-OSHA is, well, it's fundamental for getting your products into the South Korean market.
So let's start with the basics. What's the main requirement regarding these MSDSs?
Okay, the biggest change, really, is the mandatory submission of MSDSs. You now have to submit them to the Ministry of Employment and Labor, that's MOEL, for pretty much all chemical products distributed in Korea.
Right, mandatory submission. And our sources mentioned different timelines. It's not the same for everyone.
No, it depends. The key date is January 16th, 2021. If your product was already on the market before that date,
Okay.
then the deadline depends on the annual volume. If it's less than 1 ton per year, you actually still have some time until January 16th, 2026.
A bit of a grace period for those smaller volumes then.
Exactly. But for volumes over 1 ton that were on the market before that 2021 date, those submission deadlines have already passed.
Okay, so people needed to act already for those. What about new products? Things entering the market after January 16th, 2021.
For those, it's more straightforward in a way. You need to submit the MSDS before you actually manufacture or import the product into Korea.
So it's a prerequisite for market entry now. Got it.
It is a proactive step you can't skip.
Now, businesses are always concerned about protecting their formulas, their confidential information. How does K-OSHA handle trade secrets in an MSDS?
Well, K-OSHA does allow you to use generic names for certain confidential constituents to protect those trade secrets.
Okay, that's helpful.
But, and this is a crucial point, you can't just decide to use a generic name yourself. You need to apply for and receive prior authorization from MOEL.
So there's an approval process involved. You need their okay first.
Precisely. Get the approval before you submit an MSDS with generic names.
Let's talk about foreign manufacturers. It can be complex dealing with regulations overseas. Is there anything to help them? I saw mention of an OR.
Yes, the only representative, or OR. This is a relatively new provision, and it's quite helpful. It allows a foreign manufacturer, one based outside Korea,
Right.
to appoint a legal representative in South Korea. This OR can then handle the MSDS submissions and other K-OSHA compliance tasks on their behalf.
So that could definitely streamline things for companies without a physical presence there.
Absolutely. It simplifies the practical implementation significantly.
Okay, are there any situations where these K-OSHA MSDS rules don't apply?
Yeah.
Any exemptions?
Yes, there are some important exemptions to be aware of. The main one is that products already regulated under other specific South Korean laws are generally excluded from needing a K-OSHA MSDS.
So if another law covers it, K-OSHA steps back on the MSDS requirement.
That's the idea. Also, chemical substances or products used purely for research and development purposes, R&D. They are exempt, but only from the requirement to submit the MSDS to the government. Other safety management rules might still apply, but no formal submission needed for R&D.
That distinction is important, exempt from submission, not necessarily all safety rules.
Correct. And because of these nuances, it's really essential to check the relevant laws carefully. If you're unsure whether your product qualifies for an exemption, the best advice is probably to consult MOEL directly.
Makes sense. Get clarification. Now, what about everyday items, household chemical products, things like paints or detergents?
Right, that's a specific category. Household chemical products like coatings, adhesives, laundry detergents, air fresheners. If they're specifically designated by the Minister of Environment,
Right.
they are actually exempt from K-OSHA MSDS preparation and submission.
Oh, completely exempt. So no MSDS needed at all for those.
No K-OSHA MSDS, correct. However, these products fall under a different regulation, the Korean Biocidal Products Regulation, often called KBPR. They need safety confirmation under that law. So it's not a free pass. They just shift to a different regulatory framework, a KBPR instead of K-OSHA.
Exactly. And this is critical for import.
Yeah.
If you try to clear customs with one of these designated household products, and you only have a K-OSHA MSDS, but no KBPR report or approval number,
Yes.
customs clearance will likely be denied. You need the KBPR documentation for those specific items.
So for those particular household chemicals, KBPR compliance is really the key, not the K-OSHA MSDS.
That's the takeaway. KBPR is the priority there.
Understood. We know K-OSHA's main goal is worker health. Why is sticking to these sometimes complex regulations so vital?
Well, fundamentally, it's about protecting the health and safety of workers in South Korea who will be handling these chemical products. That's the core purpose.
Right.
And from a business perspective, ensuring you meet these requirements minimizes your legal risks, avoids potential fines or market access issues, and frankly, demonstrates responsible corporate behavior. It shows you're committed to operating safely within their system. For listeners who might feel a bit overwhelmed by all this or need help navigating these K-OSHA rules, is there support available?
Yes, absolutely. Navigating these regulations can be complex. Our team at REACHLaw Korea specializes in South Korean chemical regulations, including K-OSHA. They can certainly provide support with MSDS preparation, submission strategies or services, and general compliance advice. You can reach out to them for assistance.
And how can listeners get in touch?
The best way is via email at sales@reachlaw.fi.
Okay, sales at REACHLaw.fi. We'll make sure that's clear for everyone. So just to recap the key points then.
Sure.
Mandatory MSDS submission to MOEL is the standard now. Timelines vary based on that January 2021 date and volume. Protecting trade secrets with generic names needs MOEL's prior GAIA. Foreign companies can use an only representative, an OR, to simplify things. And there are exemptions, especially if other laws apply, or for R&D, but check carefully.
And don't forget, the household chemicals, KBPR, takes precedence over K-OSHA MSDS for those designated products.
Right. Absolute crucial distinction. Anything else to leave our listeners with?
Just that, understanding and really adhering to these K-OSHA regulations is essential if you want to successfully and smoothly operate in the South Korean chemical market. It's about ensuring compliance, yes, but also worker safety. These rules reflect South Korea's strong commitment to high occupational and environmental health standards.
A very important point. Compliance isn't just bureaucracy. It reflects shared values on safety and health. Thank you. That was incredibly insightful.
You're welcome. Happy to clarify things. So stay informed, stay proactive.
Yeah.
And as always, thanks for joining us for another REACHLaw Deep Dive.
Thanks, everyone.